Hi, my name's Kevin. Welcome back. We have another brand motion product we're going to showcase today. We're going to show you how it's installed. So here's everything that's going to come in this kit. This is the FreedomCharge 1310, FDMC 1310 FreedomCharge MAX with the new triple coil fast charging capable charging module. So this is what you're going to get in your kit. You're going to get a substrate, you're going to get a mat, obviously the coil and the harness needed to power the coil up. You're also going to get some foam and a double-sided adhesive, as well as a cutout template. So some of the things you'll need for the installation, half-inch drill bit, half-inch drill bit, some electrical tape, some wire cutters / strippers, and then an X-Acto knife for cutting our substrate and our mat. So let's dive into it. So today we're going to be installing this FDMC 1310 in Coworker's Jeep Wrangler. We're going to put it not on top, that's a different kit. We're gonna go ahead and open this up and drop it inside the tray here, inside the the center console compartment. So in a lot of cases, we give you this so that you can kind of set it in, cut it right, get your profile exactly how you want it, and then move it over to your substrate and then your mat. Luckily, this is one of the vehicles among many that we have custom-made templates for. So you can get something like this, kind of give you some brief descriptions and some tips and tricks. And then on the second page, we'll actually have an actual cutout for you. So today I'm going to be able to use this, but just for your information, you know, if you're doing something where we don't have a template made for you, you will be supplied with a template on cardstock, a little more stiff, so that you can get your profile exactly how you want it, a nice seamless fit, and then move over and cut your substrate and mat from that. But today, we're gonna be using this template, like I said, so I'm gonna go use this, cut it out, and show you how that's done. We're back over at the bench. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna use my paper cutout template. I'm gonna cut this out, I'm gonna use my X-Acto knife. I'm gonna cut out the holes as well so I can align those up with the holes on the substrate. Once that's how I like it, I'll then use that paper template to scribe myself an outline on my plastic substrate. Next step, I'm gonna cut with scissors, get a nice and clean cut. Can be a little tedious with a razor blade sometimes, so I'm gonna use scissors for that. And then once I have my substrate template, all I'm gonna do is lay it on top of my rubber mat and use that as a template, cut it out with my X-Acto knife. So I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like, and then we'll move over and back into the vehicle and start getting our fitment together and start running wires. All right, so I got the substrate and my mat cut. So now we're gonna move over to the vehicle. I'm gonna grab a charging coil, and then we're gonna check the fitment, make sure that all my lines line up nice and how I want it to. And then after that, we'll move on to wiring up the charging coil and getting it powered up and then permanently installed. So we're back in the Jeep. I'm gonna pull the tray out, this little tray insert here. And then I'm gonna set my coil in there first, then substrate, then mat. We wanna use the coil in there. Obviously, we wanna make sure after the full install, it's gonna sit in there nice. What can tend to happen is a lot of trays will be beveled. So if you only take that measurement of the bottom of it, it may end up being too small once it's actually got a coil underneath it. So you always wanna be making your measurements, especially when you're using make your own template. You wanna be setting your coil in there and then setting the template on top so you know you're getting the right profile at the right height in the tray. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I've got my coil underneath, I've set my substrate and my mat on top. I'm just looking at the fitment and looking at the lines. I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm gonna keep moving on. It all lines up pretty good, feels nice and sturdy, it's not wiggling around too much. So now we're gonna move on to getting your wiring set up and then permanently installing the coil in the mat. All right, so I've removed my coil and my mat and my substrate, and I've drilled this 1/2-inch hole here. So what that's going to be for is actually the connector to plug into your coil down here at the bottom. So the coil will be oriented so that it's facing towards the back of the vehicle like so. So from this point, I'm going to run my power and ground wires in this specific vehicle up to the cigarette lighter where I'll pull power and ground off of that. and that way I'll have a power point that's ready to come through this hole that I've drilled to power up my coil. All right, so I went ahead and ran my power and ground up to my cigarette lighter for power. I now have my little connector poking through my my 1/2-inch hole that I've drilled in. So now vehicle's powered up. We're gonna check and make sure the coil is working and that my phone's charging. So it's lighting up on me, that's a good sign. So I'm gonna go ahead and tuck the rest of that slack in there and just set my coil there. I'm gonna set my wirelessly charging compatible phone on top to verify that it'll charge. Hearing that beep, know it's gonna connect, so we can move on. We're moving right along. We're getting ready to permanently install and get it nice and set. So what I've done is I've used the included double-sided tape. I haven't opened up the other side yet, but I've stuck it to my coil preemptively, and I've also grabbed my 2 foam blocks. So what these foam blocks are for is I've got all this open space between the substrate and the actual bottom of the tray where there's no coil to support it. So we're gonna throw these foam blocks in there so that the substrate doesn't bend under pressure and things like that. We'll keep it a nice flat surface for the phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just mock up where my coil is sitting. I'm probably gonna end up cutting this foam down to make it fit nice. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm all done. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut my 2 blocks in half. I didn't have quite enough room, so it ended up being better. Now I have support throughout the entire tray. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually stick those down. This is just kind of mocked up. I'm gonna stick those foam blocks down. I'm gonna stick my, peel off that double-sided tape and secure this in its position. And then after that, I'm gonna remove my, my double-sided tape covers here, at which point the mat and the substrate goes on top and we're ready to rock. Okay, so I've got my foam block stuck in place as well as my coil. Everything's hooked up, plugged in. Ignition on my vehicle is powered up. So now we can go ahead and set my iPhone right on top. Hear the beep. It's now wirelessly charging. So that's pretty much it. Pretty simple install, a little bit DIY, but with some care, you can get a really nice form fit, custom fit for your vehicle.